It was supposed to end with grace. In May 1984, Happy Days gave America a heartfelt farewell. Tom Bosley's emotional toast, Joanie and Chechi's engagement, Fonzie adopting a son. It was perfect. But ABC shattered that goodbye. Weeks later, 5 unaired episodes surfaced, airing out of order and undoing the finale's emotional weight. Viewers were blindsided. The show they'd mourned had come back like nothing happened. Years earlier, Ron Howard had fought to protect the show's identity when ABC tried to rename it Fonzie's Happy Days. He won that battle with Henry Winkler by his side. But the war wasn't over. The network's final misstep didn't just confuse fans, it broke the bond between story and audience. A classic wasn't ended, it was buried. Television has seen its share of drama, but few betrayals cut as deep as what happened to Happy Days. After more than a decade on air, the show was set to end on a perfect note, Tom Bosley's emotional farewell in 1984, a touching goodbye to the Cunningham family that had charmed America for 11 seasons. But ABC blew it. The network's last-minute decision shattered that planned ending, aired 5 leftover episodes out of order, and wrecked what should have been a graceful exit. So how did it all fall apart? And what behind-the-scenes fight nearly brought the whole show down years earlier? At the height of its success, Happy Days was a cultural force. By the 3rd season, it was pulling massive ratings and dominating pop culture. But the show's breakout star wasn't its original lead, Richie Cunningham. It was Arthur Fonzarelli. Henry Winkler's Fonzie, all swagger, leather, and AE, went from side character to icon. Kids copied his style. Toys flew off shelves, viewers tuned in just to see him. And that's when ABC made a move that nearly derailed everything. They wanted to rename the show Fonzie's Happy Days. It sounded like a marketing slam dunk. But for Ron Howard, it was a slap in the face. He wasn't just the original star, he was the emotional core of the series. As Richie, he had helped build the show from the ground up. Being sidelined in favor of a character who wasn't even in the original pitch felt like betrayal. Behind closed doors, tensions flared. In a meeting with creator Gary Marshall and ABC execs, Howard laid it out: no bluffing. If the title changed, he'd walk. No arguments, no compromise. This wasn't about ego. It was about protecting the soul of the show. ABC backed down, but the damage lingered. That near split marked a turning point, one that exposed the delicate balance holding Happy Days together. Years later, when the network finally mishandled the show's ending, it felt less like an accident and more like a slow-motion collapse that had started long before the credits rolled. At 21, Ron Howard recognized a truth overlooked by executives: Happy Days was an ensemble effort. Fonzie's cool was only enhanced by Richie's relatability, Marion's warmth, and the entire Cunningham family. Industry insiders were astonished when young actors defied the network, especially over a minor detail like a title change. However, Howard's stance forced ABC to yield, preserving Happy Days as the classic ensemble comedy fans cherish today. Intriguingly, Henry Winkler, the star at the heart of the debate, supported Howard. He plainly told executives, "Why fix it if it's not broken? My success depends on the ensemble I'm in." While Fonzie was the breakout star, Winkler understood the show's magic stemmed from its group dynamic. This solidarity halted the proposed title change, with Gary Marshall ultimately siding with his actors. Yet, the confrontation left its mark. Howard began to seriously consider directing, a career shift that would eventually establish him as one of Hollywood's most respected filmmakers. In retrospect, this battle over 2 words foreshadowed deeper issues at ABC. The same executives who almost lost their leading man over a branding decision would later mishandle the show's scheduling and finale, transforming a potential perfect goodbye into one of television's most peculiar send-offs. This moment transcended mere egos. It exposed the perpetual conflict between creativity and corporate profit that shaped television for decades. To the network, Fonzie was a cash cow. To the cast and creators, he was a character who thrived within the carefully constructed world they built together. However, Howard's ultimatum was only one facet of the story. When the spotlight faded, it was Henry Winkler, not Ron Howard, who faced the profoundest challenges. Beyond the cheers, catchphrases, and iconic leather jacket, the man behind television's coolest character carried a hidden burden no one in the audience ever imagined. Untold pain behind the Fonz's cool smile. Henry Winkler was broke when he auditioned for Happy Days in 1973. The actor who would become the epitome of American cool arrived in Hollywood with barely a month's rent saved. He had left New York after years of struggling in theater, where consistent work and decent pay were rare. Winkler later admitted his finances were dire. He wasn't pursuing fame, he was pursuing survival. The irony is striking. The man who would soon embody Arthur, Fonzie. Fonzarelli, television's most confident character, was terrified walking into that audition. He rid for the role of a leather-jacketed biker. Initially conceived as comic relief, against all odds he landed the part. Arthur Fonzarelli's character on Happy Days transformed television history, propelling actor Henry Winkler from obscurity to national fame. Originally a minor supporting role, Fonzie exploded into a cultural phenomenon by the show's third season. His signature slicked back hair and merchandise became ubiquitous. Winkler, a struggling stage actor, was suddenly a household name, gracing magazine covers, appearing on talk shows, and receiving immense fan mail. Audiences tuned in specifically for Fonzie, leading producers to integrate him into nearly every storyline and even move him into the Cunningham household for increased screen time. Within 2 years, Winkler was a pop culture icon, reshaping Happy Days and television itself. However, this immense fame came with a hidden cost. For over a decade, Winkler was the Fonz. The leather jacket, motorcycle, and hairstyle blurred the lines between actor and character, becoming part of his identity. When Happy Days concluded in 1984 after 11 seasons, Winkler was unprepared. He described the end as a sting. But it was a profound struggle akin to losing a family member. The confidence he gained with the role vanished, leaving him with an identity crisis. The question wasn't just about finding his next job, it was about defining who Henry Winkler was without the Fonz. Hollywood, casting directors, and audiences alike struggled to separate the actor from the iconic character, leading to severe typecasting. Winkler was grateful for the role that brought him fame, yet simultaneously felt trapped by it. Crushing anxiety arose from fears of returning to the financial struggles he faced before Happy Days. Despite achieving fame, wealth, and cultural immortality, he carried the same insecurity as when he first arrived in California with little to his name. Audiences wanted the Fonz, not Henry Winkler, in different roles, making it incredibly difficult for him to break free from that image. For years, Winkler battled rejection and self-doubt, fearing his career ended with Happy Days. This emotional burden was carried privately, even as the public still saw him as the effortlessly cool Fonz. Yet, Henry Winkler persevered and slowly reinvented himself. In the 1980s, when acting roles dwindled, he ventured into directing for shows like MacGyver and Cop and a Half. Later, he revitalized his acting career with diverse roles, including Principal Himbry in Scream and an Emmy-nominated performance in Arrested Development. Decades later, his role in HBO's Barry finally earned him critical acclaim and an Emmy in 2018. Winkler has openly discussed the pain of the post-Happy Days years, admitting that the emotional scars lingered. Fame had given him everything he desired, but it also nearly cost him his sense of self. Meanwhile, ABC executives were planning a move that would ignite an even greater crisis. Daring to break an unwritten rule, the February 1984 Winter Olympics in Sarajevo presented ABC with a golden opportunity: exclusive coverage, promising high ratings and significant advertising revenue. However, this prestigious event led to one of the most detrimental scheduling errors in television history, forever altering how networks approached finales, programming conflicts, and the audience's connection to beloved stories. This forgotten disaster turned Happy Days, a highly popular sitcom, into television's first zombie series. Initially, the issue appeared to be a standard scheduling conflict. The Sarajevo Games ran from February 8 to 19, 1984. As the rights holder, ABC dedicated its primetime slots to nightly Olympic coverage, displacing several shows, including Happy Days, which was in its 11th and final season. The displaced episodes were crucial, intended to air in February as part of the lead up to the series finale. ABC executives faced a dilemma: either delay the finale until summer to ensure all episodes aired sequentially, or stick to the May finale schedule and address the unaired episodes later. They chose the latter, a decision that violated a fundamental rule of television. On May 8, 1984, Happy Days aired its series finale, Passages, offering an emotional conclusion for millions of viewers. Joni and Chachi became engaged, Fonzie adopted a son, and Tom Bosley as Mr. Cunningham delivered a moving toast. After over a decade, audiences said goodbye to characters who had defined 1970s American television. Yet, ABC wasn't finished. After the Olympics, the network still had the unaired February episodes. Rather than shelving them, Happy Days was brought back in June and July, months after its official conclusion. To the audience, it was as if the dead had returned, causing confusion among fans and critics alike, and ultimately tarnishing the legacy of an iconic sitcom. To grasp the magnitude of this error, one must understand the significance of a series finale. It's more than just another episode, it's a pact between the show and its audience, providing closure and allowing viewers to emotionally disengage. Once the story concludes, it is complete. ABC executives, however, viewed episodes as interchangeable content block, treating it as a business decision: air the finale as planned, then offer bonus episodes for fans. Television writers, directors, and actors understood the emotional logic of storytelling, recognizing that a finished narrative cannot be reopened without severing the audience bond. Hollywood veterans watched in dismay, likening it to adding random scenes after a film's credits or publishing extra chapters after a novel's final page. The damage extended beyond Happy Days, serving as a crucial lesson for the entire industry. The fallout was immediate, with other networks quietly observing, determined to avoid ABC's mistake. By the mid-1980s, contracts began incorporating clauses guaranteeing final protection, preventing series endings from being undermined by scheduling changes or bonus episodes. Ultimately, a single misguided scheduling decision led to a rule that endures today. When a show ends, let it end. No resurrections, no bonus episodes, no second curtain calls. The Olympic scheduling disaster had already impacted Happy Days' final season, but an even greater challenge arose, one that nearly erased television's most perfect farewell. Network executives tried to block a scene destined for TV history. Why were they so desperate to stop this particular moment, and what made them so afraid of it? By 1984, Happy Days had transcended its sitcom origins, becoming one of America's longest-running shows and a cultural cornerstone that provided 11 years of comfort, nostalgia, and laughter. For its farewell, series creator Gary Marshall envisioned something daring, an idea that ABC executives nearly shut down. Marshall's simple yet radical concept involved Howard Cunningham, the show's steady father figure, looking directly at the audience and acknowledging their presence. This act, known as breaking the fourth wall, was almost unheard of in the 1980s, as television shows relied on maintaining the illusion that viewers were merely observing another world. ABC executives were initially horrified by Gary Marshall's unconventional idea for the Happy Days finale, having Howard Cunningham, a character, directly address the audience. They feared it would shatter the illusion of the show and cheapen its goodbye after 11 seasons portraying the Cunningham family as real people in 1950s Milwaukee. Marshall, however, saw Happy Days as more than just a sitcom. It had become an integral part of American households. He believed the audience, who had grown up with the Cunninghams as if they were family, deserved direct acknowledgement. Marshall envisioned Howard speaking to viewers not as a character, but as a father figure expressing gratitude for their 11 years together. Despite ABC's reluctance, Marshall remained firm, convinced that this honest and unconventional approach would make television history. On May 8, 1984, during the finale passages, Tom Bosley delivered a heartfelt message directly to the camera, thanking America for being part of their family. Millions of viewers were deeply moved, experiencing tears rather than confusion. They felt a genuine connection, as if Howard Cunningham was truly speaking to them, acknowledging their role as extended family members. The scene, which executives had feared would weaken the final, instead completed the illusion and made it unforgettable. While critics initially dismissed it as a sentimental gimmick, fan letters and later television historians lauded the moment as a rare instance of a sitcom honoring the show, audience relationship in a profoundly personal way. Marshall's bold choice had a lasting impact, demonstrating that audiences could embrace experimental storytelling when executed with sincerity. It highlighted that finales were not merely episodes but significant cultural events demanding care, risk, and honesty. However, the perfection of this moment was almost undermined weeks later when ABC aired unaired episodes after the finale, breaking the sacred rule of not reviving a story once it has concluded. This programming blunder nearly buried Howard Cunningham's heartfelt thank you to America under a mistake that still haunts network executives. Just weeks after Bosley's emotional goodbye, 5 stray episodes stumbled out of ABC's vault like zombies from television's graveyard, undoing the perfect ending that viewers had already accepted. Which forgotten episodes dragged Happy Days back from the dead? 5 forgotten episodes destroyed Happy Days' perfect ending between June and September 1984. ABC made one of the worst mistakes in television history. What should have been a perfect farewell to Happy Days, sealed by one of the most moving finales ever aired, was dragged back to life by the network in a way that felt like cultural vandalism. 5 forgotten episodes, never meant to see daylight after the finale, were released with no explanation, confusing millions of loyal viewers and permanently staining the show's legacy. These weren't bonus episodes designed to tie up loose ends. They weren't epilogues offering fans one last emotional moment with the Cunningham family. They were leftover scripts, casualties of the Olympic scheduling disaster earlier that year, pulled from the vault and dumped onto audiences without context. The damage began on June 4, 1984, when ABC aired So How Was Your Weekend? On its own, the story was unremarkable, a lighthearted half-hour of sitcom fluff. But coming just weeks after Tom Bosley's emotional farewell speech in the finale passages, it felt jarring. Viewers had already mourned the show's ending. They had said their goodbyes. Suddenly, without warning, the Cunningham family was back on their screens as if nothing had happened. Then came low notes, followed by School Dazed. Each episode aired like a ghost from a show that had already been laid to rest. Fans who had processed the finale were forced to relive a version of Happy Days that no longer made sense. It was like attending a funeral, only for the deceased to show up a few weeks later, cracking jokes and pretending the burial never happened. This clumsy resurrection stood in stark contrast to what Gary Marshall had carefully built in passages. That finale gave viewers true closure: Joanie and Chachi's wedding, Fonzie adopting Danny, and Howard Cunningham breaking the fourth wall to thank America for being part of the family. It was one of the rare moments in TV where fiction and reality met in perfect harmony. But these post-finale leftovers undermined everything. By the time Good News, Bad News aired in August 1984, fans hoped ABC had finally reached the bottom of the barrel. The episode showed Chachi getting a chance to tour with the Beach Boys, only to face medical setbacks. While not designed as an ending, it at least carried some emotional weight, enough that some viewers thought maybe this would be the show's unplanned swan song. But ABC had one more card to play, and it was the cruelest of all. On September 24, 1984, the final Happy Days episode ever broadcast was Fonzie's Spots. Instead of dignity, it delivered humiliation. In this storyline, Fonzie tried to join Howard's Leopard Lodge and was subjected to mean-spirited hazing by Potsy. No heartfelt goodbye, no family closure, just television's coolest character being mocked by his friends. That became the final image of Happy Days in syndication history, not Howard Cunningham's grateful farewell, but the Fonz reduced to a punchline. For a show that had once defined American nostalgia, this ending was nothing short of tragic. Television historians still shake their heads at how ABC could mishandle the conclusion of one of its biggest cultural landmarks. They had everything: 11 seasons of history, a finale that critics and fans praised for its warmth and closure, and a moment that made audiences cry across the country. Yet they sabotaged it with 5 random leftovers that erased all of that goodwill. The so-called 5 episodes of death showed that even a show as beloved as Happy Days could be undone not by bad writing, not by fading stars, but by careless network decisions. After surviving cast departures, shifting audience tastes, and more than a decade on the air, Happy Days didn't fall apart from within. It was killed by its own network. Fans deserve to remember the Cunningham family the way Gary Marshall intended: united, grateful, and at peace. Instead, they were left with a legacy fractured by 5 episodes that should have stayed buried. And that's how Happy Days went from a perfect ending to a cautionary tale, one that still reminds Hollywood of television's most sacred rule: when you say goodbye, mean it. There was no recovering from this blunder, or was there? How the cast moved on after TV's most infamous finale, when the cameras stopped rolling in 1984, Happy Days had already etched itself into television history, but the botched farewell left the cast carrying a strange legacy. For some, it opened new doors; for others, it became a shadow they could never escape. Ron Howard, who had already begun moving from acting to directing, left Richie Cunningham behind and never looked back. Within a decade, he was winning Oscars for A Beautiful Mind and shaping blockbusters like Apollo 13. The finale disaster barely touched his reputation. If anything, it reminded him why he wanted full creative control behind the camera. Henry Winkler's story was different. The Fonz made him a global icon but also trapped him. Casting directors struggled to see past the leather jacket, and his career stalled through much of the late 80s. Only in the 1990s, with roles in Scream, The Waterboy, and eventually his Emmy-winning turn in Barry, did Winkler finally rewrite his career narrative. Looking back, he admitted that the odd, anticlimactic ending of Happy Days felt like a personal, unfinished chapter. Marion Ross, the beloved TV mom, became a regular face on stage and screen after the show. The enduring legacy of the Happy Days cast is a testament to their impact on television, even in the face of a famously mishandled series finale. From the beloved patriarch Howard Cunningham, played by Tom Bosley, to the iconic Fonz Henry Winkler and the ever-charming Richie Cunningham Ron Howard, each actor navigated their post-Happy Days careers with varying degrees of success and public perception. Tom Bosley, whose heartfelt closing speech in the finale deeply resonated with viewers, seamlessly transitioned into a new phase of his career, forever remembered as the father who welcomed America into his family. His passing in 2010 was met with widespread mourning, a clear indication of how profoundly his role had touched audiences. Marion Ross, who played Marion Cunningham, reinvented herself as a dependable character actress, lending her voice to shows like SpongeBob SquarePants. Despite her diverse roles, her final words in the Happy Days finale, acknowledging viewers as part of the Cunningham family, remained her most quoted moment. For Erin Moran, who portrayed Joanie Cunningham, life after Happy Days proved more challenging. Plagued by typecasting and financial struggles, her spin-off Joanie Loves Chachi faltered, and she passed away in 2017, a poignant reminder of the unseen burdens child stars often carry. Her on-screen partner Scott Baio's Chachi found modest success in later sitcoms but became more recognized for his polarizing political views than his acting. For him, the Happy Days finale was both a career peak and a confining cultural label. Anson Williams, known as Potsy, stepped away from Hollywood to forge a surprising career as an entrepreneur, venturing into business and politics. Don Most the class clown Ralph Malph embraced a career in music and occasional guest roles, avoiding aggressive fame-seeking but remaining a cherished convention guest for devoted fans. The missteps of the original finale in 1984, leaving fans conflicted about how to remember the show's conclusion, cast a long shadow over cast reunions and interviews for decades. However, 2024 brought a moment of unexpected closure. At the Emmy Awards, celebrating Happy Days' 50th anniversary, Ron Howard and Henry Winkler recreated the legendary Fonz jukebox moment. Winkler striking the jukebox, triggering the theme song, brought an eruption of applause, hailed by critics as the real finale the show deserved. This moment offered the surviving cast a sense of resolution that ABC had denied them years prior. Ultimately, the then and now of the Happy Days cast illustrates not just their individual career paths, but also how they collectively bore the weight of one of television's most infamous endings. While some flourished and others struggled, together they affirmed that even a flawed farewell could not diminish their indelible mark on television history. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out another interesting video by clicking on the link shown on your screen. See you on the other side.